Hey guys, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the e-bike and bike industry, and today I'm going to talk about how far can you expect your e-bike to go. Stick around. All right, so today I'm going to talk about how far can you expect your e-bike to go, but before I do, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways, and of course, new product releases. All right, so you're in the market for an e-bike or you have an e-bike and you're gonna look up something called range, right? How far will that e-bike go? How long will the battery last? And that's an important number, right? Because you're thinking, I'm gonna buy this e-bike, I wanna do these type of rides, and I wanna know how far it's gonna take me. Well, let me first say that e-bike range published on any e-bike company's website is a range of the range, right? So it's a lot of times you're gonna see 20 to 40 miles or 25 to 50 miles or whatever, 50 to 80 miles. And there's a couple variables I'm gonna get into as to why. Other thing I'll say about e-bikes is the battery technology and the overall technology of an e-bike is not that of a car. You know, you have a Tesla or you have any other electric car on the market, their range prediction is going to be far more accurate than an e-bike because of the technology, the amount of hours that's gone into designing these batteries, and also the systems that are tracking the range is not at the level of sophistication right now for e-bikes. With that even said though, I've driven many electric cars. Personally, I've actually owned 3 different ones. And the range, your car will typically tell you, here's your miles. And just like gasoline, actually, it's not something to 100%, hang your hat on. Even in a gasoline car, it's gonna say distance till empty, 400 miles. We all know you take your car down to 0 and you can still drive. We also know that if you drive your car strategically, you can get way more miles. You can also get less miles, right? If you turn the air on, if you go up big hills, same is true in electric cars. So in e-bikes, it's even more difficult because the battery technology isn't even as good. So on all these e-bikes here, I have a 630 e-bike, electric e-bike, Sondor's e-bike, Rad Power e-bike, 4 of the leading e-bike brands that are out there. And when you talk about your range, you have a screen indicator and it's usually bars. All 4 of these companies, that's how it works. You turn it on, click a button and it gives you bars, right? It's not gonna tell you distance till empty or miles to be ridden. That would be great if they did. We may not be too far away from that technology, but as of today, it's bars on there, right? And you may also be riding and you have a full bar and all of a sudden, you thought you'd get longer out of it and that bar disappears and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what the heck, right? So when you talk about range on your e-bike, and this applies to all 4 of the companies here, there's a lot of factors that go into the range and your expectation. Number 1 is, how are you using your e-bike? Are you using pedal assist mode? Are you using the throttle? Or are you using it without the electricity? All 4 of the e-bikes behind me, again, the 630, the electric, Sondor's, Rad Power, all 3 have the options of pedal assist, throttle only, or also just riding it as a standard bike. The combination of how you use those will dictate your range. So if you're primarily using the throttle, you're gonna drain that battery really quick. If you're using pedal assist, but you're in level 1, which is the lowest, you're gonna get more range. If you're in pedal assist level 5, which is the highest, you're gonna drain the battery quick, about at the level as when you were using a throttle. And again, you can be in pedal assist level 3. If you use the electricity, turn it off and then just pedal the bike, you're gonna get great range if you do things like that. So the uses and the combination of that are gonna really dictate the range you're getting. In addition to that, the terrain where you're riding is gonna dictate the range you're getting. Are you going up hills? Are you going on flat ground? I've seen in particular, when you take e-bikes on very steep hills, it's going to drain the battery very quick because the motor is having to work harder. You're running at a higher watt output, which is therefore draining the battery because the battery is supplying the power needed to power the e-bike. So then in addition to that, if you're going up the hill and you're using throttle only, you're gonna really drain that battery fast. So these kind of things on the outskirts of the usage, right? If you're using it in the middle, being conservative, you're gonna get a very high range. If you're going up big hills using the throttle, you're gonna drain that battery very quickly, even to the point where you'll probably get less miles than the advertised range than the company's putting out there. And I've seen this before. If you're going up very big hills using the throttle, they might say you can get 20 to 40 miles of range. The truth is if you're doing big hills throttle only, that's not the type of riding that they're expecting when they talk about range. So you're going to be draining your battery probably under the 20-mile minimum they're talking about. I'd like to point out though, the same would be true for a car, right? If you were to hop in a car and it's telling you that, you know, you can have 30 miles till empty or 50 miles till empty, or let's say your charge on a car is 200 miles. Then all of a sudden you go drive in the mountains and all you do is drive uphill for the next hour. Your gas mileage is going to be far less than what it has been calculating over the average riding that you're typically doing, right? So when car companies even advertise gas mileage, they're talking about a general average of what typical driving would be, you know, not driving uphill in the mountains for 2 hours straight. So just know the expectation and be aware of that if you're jumping on an e-bike and you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna go up these hills, I get 20 miles normally, I'll get 20 miles. That's not gonna be the case. Okay, so third thing that's gonna dictate the range is the weight of the rider or the load you're carrying. A rider who weighs 150 pounds is gonna get more range out of an e-bike than a rider who weighs 300 pounds. It's just because the load and the output of the motor is gonna be so much greater trying to carry a heavier person than it is a lighter person. So if two people jump on an e-bike, one person 150, one 300, and you're using the e-bike the same way, without a doubt, the 150-pound person will get more range out of the e-bike than the 300-pound person. So again, that is another one of these things that's advertised with the range, and it's hard to take all these variables into account and calculate an exact range for every single person, because there's other things that come into play as well. The type of terrain that you're riding on, again, how often are you pedaling, again, all these different types of variables. So when you see the range of an e-bike, you just have to take that and keep in mind that these are in the average circumstances, in the average terrains, incorporating some hills, not super steep hills. And the other possibility, and I've done it before, at 630, we have a couple bikes and I've pushed them beyond the limits of what we advertise to customers, because there's also strategies to riding your e-bike to really elongating the battery in terms of, you know, when you go downhill, stop pedaling or get off the throttle. Just ways to conserve the output, conserve the energy, that once you have an e-bike and you're up and riding, you'll learn as well. So I hope that answers the question of range on an e-bike. If you have any other questions at all, please comment below or email us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. And if you're in the market for an e-bike, jump over to our website, take the proprietary body fit quiz we have. Answer a few questions about your body and your life, and we'll recommend the perfect e-bike for you. In addition, at 630, we have a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love your e-bike in the first 30 days, send it back, no questions asked, no money out of your pocket. And before you purchase, join our Facebook Peddlers group and download our app. You can connect with other riders in advance of purchasing, ask questions, see how they're logging miles on the app. Then once you have your e-bike, post photos in the Peddlers group, compete on the leaderboard on the app. It's tons of fun. So thank you for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.